case you was looking for that name Blac Chyna, she was just on ET sharing the deets on why her and Derek broke off their engagement. Here's the tea, and it came straight from her, not from these blogs. So they actually called it quits, but it wasn't on no messy stuff. She said it was a healthy breakup, nobody cheated, nobody did anything wrong. She's just in a different season, more focused on her kids, her peace, her spirit, her TikTok lives, her businesses. She did say Derek is doing big things too, and it's really giving grown woman energy. I mean, she's not bitter. She literally said we were friends before and we still got love. And not only that, but Chyna actually hinted that she might have already met her soulmate. She's just not interested in meeting anyone new right now. So girl, is the soulmate Tyga, Kardashian, or Derek? Like, which one was it?
Blac Chyna just did something nobody saw coming. After years of drama, losing her home, breaking off her engagement, she's suddenly talking about her soulmate. But here's the twist. That soulmate isn't new, it's Rob Kardashian. Yeah, the same Rob she once had one of the messiest breakups in Hollywood with. So what really made her go back? Is it love, comfort, or just the only thing left when the spotlight fades? Let's break this down. Angela White hasn't exactly left her wild past behind. Instead, she seems to be slipping back into old patterns, returning to her ex because it feels like the easier path. What's up, everyone? It's your boy Ohaya Duke Jackson, back again with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Now, let's talk about Blac Chyna, and honestly, she's been going through a tough time. Once thriving in the spotlight, she went from being an OnlyFans star to declaring she'd found God, even removing her cosmetic enhancements in an effort to start fresh. But soon after, things took a downer. She lost her home and struggled to regain her footing. Much of this, unfortunately, reflects the reality of aging in the entertainment world, where fame fades fast and opportunities dry up. Chyna's image has been heavily scrutinized, and her past choices have often overshadowed her attempts at reinvention. During this rocky phase, she began dating Derek Milano, a Grammy-winning producer and songwriter. Their relationship blossomed, and after about a year together, the two got engaged in October 2024 during an emotional moment at Howard University. Chyna was in tears on stage, surrounded by support and applause as everyone celebrated their love story. Yet, despite the promising beginning, the happiness didn't last long. Less than 9 months later, news broke that the engagement had ended, leaving fans once again wondering what's next for her.
We're healing.
Oh my God, I love it.
And we're communicating. And we're just going with the flow. And if God be, then there will be something.
So can I say this? I was with you guys. I had the privilege of spending.
So now, out of nowhere, after breaking up with her fiancé, Blac Chyna is suddenly talking about having found her soulmate. During a recent discussion, the host even asked the question everyone's been wondering: could that soulmate be Tyga, the father of her child? People are curious and speculating, and while no one's sure yet, it looks like we're about to find out who's really captured her heart this time.
Angela White done got old and tired of the streets, so she gonna go back to her baby daddy because it's easy. This is why I tell y'all not to deal with baby daddies. Because when the baby mama gets tired of being in the streets, she gonna pick her baby daddy up. 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later, it don't matter. If he's still single or he's not madly in love with somebody else, she coming to pick him up. She's coming to pick him up. And you know, Rob it wasn't hard. You know, it just didn't give that it would be hard for her to be successful in getting her baby daddy back whenever she felt like getting him back. It's actually smart when you think about it. Go have fun in the streets for as long as you want to, and then go back to your baby daddy. And who's going to tell you shouldn't? Who is going to tell you that you cannot go work things out with your kid's parent, you know? If that's what you want to do, pick a baby daddy. Didn't they say that's what men do? When they get tired of being outside, they go pick one of their baby mamas. Women are, I guess, doing the same thing nowadays. I guess when we get tired, ladies, of being outside, if you got a baby daddy, girl just gonna pick him back up. It don't even matter no more. It don't even matter.
Now, based on her own words, we finally know who this mysterious soulmate really is. None other than Rob Kardashian. That's right. Blac Chyna is reportedly trying to rekindle her relationship with Rob. What makes this revelation so surprising is their history. Things between them were once extremely rocky. Back in the day, she didn't exactly treat Rob kindly. Their relationship was messy, dramatic, and often public. After their split, Chyna moved on to other partners and lived a lifestyle that kept her in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. From public scandals to questionable relationships, it seemed like she was spiraling further away from stability. Now, hearing that she might want to get back with Rob has left people divided. Some see it as personal growth or a second chance, while others can't help but recall how toxic things once were. The criticism is already building, and many are watching closely to see whether this reunion is genuine or just another chapter in her ongoing drama. Let me break this down because a lot of people have been asking the same question: why do women go back to their baby daddies? Someone recently said, it's just easier to go back. And honestly, there's some truth to that. But let's dig deeper. I'm going to explain it the same way I do when I'm talking to my boys. I've got a friend who's dating an incredibly attractive woman from Africa. She's stunning, curvy, and everything most guys would call a dream. But one day, he came to me worried. He said, "Man, what if I lose her? What if things don't work out?" And I told him straight up, "Bro, no matter how fine she is, there's one thing I can promise you. Nobody wants to put up with her." He looked confused and said, "But guys are always checking her out." And I said, "Sure, they'll look, they might even flirt, but that doesn't mean they'll stay." And that right there is the perfect way to explain Blac Chyna's situation. After things fell apart with Rob Kardashian, she moved on to other men, including Derek Milano for a while. She kept dating, trying different relationships, but none of them lasted.
Why?
Because sometimes, no matter how attractive or high-profile someone is, people eventually realize the challenges that come with being with them. And now, after all that, Chyna's focus seems to be circling back to Rob, the one man who truly knew what it was like to deal with all of her. Now, when some women say things like, "I'm focusing on my kids, my work, and self-improvement," it often sounds admirable, and to be fair, sometimes it really is. But in many cases, that phrase has become more of a cover-up than a genuine declaration of growth. What it really means deep down is that men have stopped wanting to deal with the constant drama that tends to follow them. It's not that these women suddenly decided to prioritize peace and stability out of nowhere. It's that the people around them, especially the men they were involved with, simply got tired. The truth is, most men don't have the patience or emotional energy to constantly manage someone else's chaos. Life is stressful enough. Work demands, bills, responsibilities. Nobody wants to come home and step into another battlefield. When a man feels like every conversation turns into an argument, every day becomes a test, and every effort he makes gets overlooked or criticized, he'll eventually decide it's just not worth it. It doesn't matter how attractive the woman is or how good things might have been in the beginning. A peaceful mind will always outweigh physical attraction. And in many of these situations, the only man still willing to stick around ends up being the baby daddy. Not necessarily because the love between them has been rekindled, but because of familiarity and obligation. They've shared history, they share a child, and both of them are tired. They've reached that stage where they're not chasing passion or perfection anymore. They're just trying to make something work because it feels easier than starting over. It's not romance, it's resignation. You see, once a woman builds a reputation for being difficult, disrespectful, or emotionally unpredictable, most men keep their distance. It's not that men are afraid of strong personalities. Far from it. But there's a difference between strength and stubbornness, between confidence and chaos. A strong woman uplifts, motivates, and brings balance. A difficult woman drains, criticizes, and creates tension. And over time, men learn to recognize that difference. So when these women find themselves single again and claim they're focusing on themselves, what's often really happening is that they've run out of people willing to deal with their behavior. They might say they're healing or working on personal growth, but the truth is growth doesn't happen until you confront what drove people away in the first place. You can't call it self-improvement if you're not improving the parts of yourself that caused the damage. That's why some end up circling back to their exes, especially the fathers of their children. The connection is still there, even if it's complicated. They know each other's flaws, they've already fought all the big fights, and there's a certain comfort in the familiar. Plus, there's the child, a permanent reminder that, like it or not, their lives are intertwined. So instead of venturing into something new and being rejected again, they go back to the one person who's already endured their worst. But here's the problem. Going back doesn't fix what was broken. If the same toxic habits and attitudes are still there, the relationship just falls apart all over again. Nothing changes unless the people involved actually change. A fresh start with the same old mindset is just a repeat of the past. In truth, it's not about the kids, the job, or even self-improvement. It's about accountability. It's about looking in the mirror and asking, why do people stop wanting to deal with me? That's not an easy question to answer, but it's the only one that leads to real growth. Because until someone faces their own patterns honestly, they'll keep mistaking temporary peace for progress and confusing isolation with independence. And for many of these women, that's the cycle. Drama drives people away, loneliness sets in, and rather than change, they call it focusing on themselves. But deep down, they know the truth. The issue isn't that men gave up too soon. It's that they never stopped creating reasons for men to walk away. It's a harsh reality, but it's real. The same pattern can be seen with celebrities too. Take Cardi B, for example. When she eventually parts ways with Stefon Diggs, she'll face the same problem. She might be rich, famous, and attractive, but she's also known to be difficult, and not many men want that long term. Looks and status can draw attention, sure, but they can't make someone stay through the chaos. And this applies to plenty of everyday women as well. You might be beautiful and capable of catching a man's eye, no question there. But getting attention and keeping genuine interest are two very different things. Once your personal issues start surfacing, whether it's constant arguments, emotional instability, or financial struggles, most men check out. A relationship only works when your value, peace, and positive qualities outweigh the problems you bring. One issue that keeps coming up, though, is what's called dry begging. That's when someone constantly hints or complains about needing help without directly asking. It's needy, unattractive, and it pushes people away. If you're doing that, it's time to stop because no one wants to be guilt-tripped or drained in a relationship. Stability, self-sufficiency, and a good attitude will take you further than looks or sympathy ever could. That kind of dry begging behavior, constantly asking for things without showing appreciation or reciprocity, is one of the biggest relationship killers out there. It's not just unattractive, it's disrespectful. You can't expect someone to keep giving when you never give back. I've got a friend dealing with exactly that. His girlfriend always has her hand out, new hair, new shoes, new outfits, and he takes it all. But the moment he asks, like a playful video or a little affection, suddenly there's an attitude. She gets defensive, refuses to cooperate, and then acts offended when he calls it out. That's the kind of imbalance that wears a man down. You can't demand effort, attention, and generosity while refusing to meet your partner halfway. If you constantly disrespect the person who's trying to make you happy, don't be surprised when he eventually walks away. And honestly, that's exactly what's happening with Blac Chyna. She's carried unresolved issues from one relationship to the next, expecting men to accept her chaos without question. But the reality is, no one is obligated to deal with your problems, especially when those problems come with baggage that isn't even theirs, like kids from a previous relationship. At first, sure, it's exciting, you're famous, you're attractive, you're fun to be around. But once the novelty wears off and the everyday challenges start showing, the thrill disappears. People get tired of constant drama and emotional exhaustion. That's when men step back and realize they don't have to stay. And that's the truth many don't want to hear. A man doesn't have to tolerate disrespect, attitude, or ungratefulness just because you look good. In the end, that's why Blac Chyna might end up back with Rob Kardashian. He's the one man who already knows her, who's been through the storm with her, and might still be willing to put up with her flaws. Not necessarily because it's love reborn, but because of familiarity and shared history. But for most other men, the decision is simple. They don't have to deal with that anymore, and they won't. The truth is, a lot of women struggle when it comes to dealing with successful men. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, professional, ambitious men aren't obligated to tolerate bad behavior or unnecessary drama just because someone thinks they should. Too many women assume that a man with stability and drive will simply put up with whatever comes his way, but that's far from the truth. In reality, the only men who tend to stick around in those situations are the ones who aren't striving to grow, men like Rob Kardashian, or those who don't seem particularly motivated to improve themselves. Ironically, that's often the same type of man women claim not to want because they don't see him as ambitious or going anywhere. But when no one else is willing to deal with the chaos, that's the man they end up circling back to, not out of love, but because he's still there. If Rob were more driven, focused, and moving forward in life, he probably would have left long ago. And that's the truth about successful men. They have options. Men who are confident, productive, and goal-oriented won't stay in relationships that drain their peace. They'll always choose environments where they feel respected and valued. Every man, regardless of status, needs a woman who adds something positive to his life, whether it's support, peace, affection, or simply joy. There has to be something that makes the relationship worth it. You can't bring constant negativity, attitude, or chaos and expect someone to stay. If you bring nothing to the table but stress, eventually, even the most patient person will walk away. So when women like Blac Chyna find themselves going back to their exes or baby daddies, it's often not about rekindled love. It's about comfort and familiarity. Those men already know what they're getting into, and they're the only ones still willing to deal with it. But until there's some real personal growth and accountability, all that back and forth just proves one thing. The problem isn't the men, it's the mindset. At the end of the day, most people simply don't want to deal with negativity, and that's a truth that cuts across every level of society, whether you're an average person or a celebrity with millions in the bank. You can have fame, fortune, luxury cars, and designer clothes, but if your energy is toxic and your personality drains everyone around you, people will eventually distance themselves. Money might attract attention, but it doesn't buy genuine respect. And respect, once lost, is hard to win back. It doesn't matter how many cosmetic procedures or BBLs you've had, how flawless your Instagram pictures look, or how much you spend trying to craft the perfect image. If you can't hold a decent conversation without turning it into an argument, if you can't appreciate others without belittling them, or if you constantly make choices that sabotage your own happiness, then all those surface-level upgrades mean absolutely nothing. Physical beauty might open doors, but attitude determines how long you get to stay inside. We see this play out all the time in the entertainment world. People chase attention and validation, thinking that external appeal will compensate for internal chaos. But once the cameras stop flashing and the social media engagement slows down, what's left? That's when character starts to matter. How you treat people, how you handle conflict, and how you carry yourself when nobody's watching. Because at some point, the world gets tired of pretending that a bad attitude wrapped in a beautiful package is still worth celebrating. If you can't get along with people, can't maintain meaningful relationships, and refuse to take accountability for your own behavior, then eventually, even the most loyal friends will give up trying. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, all rely on a basic foundation of respect and reciprocity. When someone consistently brings negativity into every situation, people start protecting their peace. They stop answering the calls, they stop inviting you out, and slowly, you realize the isolation wasn't caused by jealousy or betrayal, it was self-inflicted. The truth really is simple. It's not about how attractive you are, how much you make, or how popular you've become. None of those things guarantee happiness or longevity in relationships. What truly matters is your attitude, your ability to be kind, humble, understanding, and emotionally intelligent. You can't buy emotional maturity, and you can't fake self-awareness forever. Eventually, people see through the act. A bad attitude is like poison. It doesn't just harm the people around you, it corrodes your own opportunities. It can close doors you didn't even know were open. The worst part? Many people with toxic attitudes don't realize how much they've lost until it's too late. They keep blaming others, saying, "Nobody supports me," or "People can't handle me," when in reality, people are simply tired of dealing with someone who refuses to grow, and this goes for anyone listening. especially those who think success excuses bad behavior. It doesn't. If you want meaningful connections and peace in your life, you've got to fix your mindset. Work on your communication. Learn to apologize when you're wrong. Learn to listen instead of always reacting. The world doesn't revolve around how you feel. Healthy relationships are built on empathy and balance. Every person, no matter how successful, needs to bring something positive into the lives of others, a sense of calm, encouragement, or joy. If all you bring is stress, chaos, or complaints, then people will find peace by removing you from their circle. That's not cruelty. That's self-preservation. And it's not just about romantic relationships either. This applies to friendships, business partnerships, and even family dynamics. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if you're disrespectful, entitled, or unwilling to collaborate, eventually you'll find yourself standing alone. Because people don't leave when you make mistakes, they leave when you make no effort to change. You can't expect loyalty when you're constantly creating conflict. You can't demand love when you don't give respect. The truth is, growth is uncomfortable. It means admitting you've been wrong, acknowledging your flaws, and doing the work to become better. But the alternative, staying stuck in your pride and negativity, costs far more in the long run. So, to anyone out there still trying to figure it out, don't focus so much on appearances. Focus on your energy, your spirit, your habits. The glow up that really matters isn't physical, it's emotional. The moment you learn to control your temper, treat others well, and carry yourself with integrity, you'll start attracting better people and better situations, because until you change what's inside, no amount of glamour, fame, or attention will make your relationships last. You can't fake peace. You can't Photoshop kindness. And no filter in the world can disguise an ugly attitude.
So take a breath.
Reflect on your actions. Ask yourself, am I the kind of person I'd want to be around? If the answer is no, it's time to start working on that. Because at the end of the day, it's not about who you impress, it's about who you impact. And with that, this is your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, signing off from another episode of the Celebrity Junk. You already know what time it is. The bell has rung,